Good evening, Delaware, and welcome to this DETV News Special Edition report. I am Kerwin Gaines. Tonight, election night. As it unfolds right here, we are going to be here to bring you accurate, straightforward coverage of both state and national elections, keeping you informed on the decisions that shape our lives. We're grateful you've chosen DETV as your source this evening. Ahead of today, more than 200,000 Delawareans, 1 in every 4 registered voters, have cast their votes early at one of the state's 19 early voting sites. With an additional 37,416 absentee ballots, a remarkable 246,933 Delawareans have already made their voices heard. Throughout the evening, I'll be joined by a few special guests who will offer their insights on the results as we receive them. Together, we'll analyze both state and national outcomes, giving you a clear and honest picture of what's unfolding. So let's get started. This is DETV News, and tonight we're proud to be here with you, Delaware. So we're excited to bring you this information here this evening. We know that Delaware doesn't have a lot of outlets when it comes to information and getting that to you here in the community. So we wanted to do that with a non-partisan, non-biased view. So thank you for choosing us and bringing you your information. Delaware, I am optimistic. I don't know if you want to place wagers at the bottom of the screen if your comment sections, if you're watching this online. I think that we are going to have a record-breaking voter turnout. I think it was 67% in the previous election. I could be wrong, give or take, but I think this is going to be something that's special. I think that the issues are important for everyone. They're always important, but there's something different about this election, especially on a national level. I think it has driven people out to the polls. We've made it more convenient for people to be at the polls. I know that I voted Sunday night. It took me about a half hour. When I went out to the polls, the Eagles were up by 20-some points. I come out of the polls, we're only up by maybe 7 or 8 points and 7 points, and it was a mess. It's amazing what a half an hour can turn out. It didn't tell me not to vote anymore. It just told me not to vote anymore during an Eagles game. But moving forward, I hope that we will continue to knock down the barriers for voting. I made it clear in my post, I made it clear if you follow the agenda, that the 22% primary turnout was sad. We could have done so much better for that than the primaries. I've heard some people say, oh, well, it's just a primary. But how many elections in Delaware are decided at the primary level? Let's be honest, we're a heavily Democratic state. The Democrats' elections are primary based, right? And only 22% of registered voters in the state of Delaware made a decision to go to the polls in September of this year. I think we're definitely going to see a turnout. As far as upsets go, I don't know if there's going to be upsets. I don't want to put that out there in the air. The polls have just closed. We are going to have information to you as soon as we get it. We have a line in from the Department of Elections. We have folks behind the camera who you can't see over the next few hours that are piping information to us to ensure that you are getting up-to-date information, and we're bringing that to you. We're also covering the large national election between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. So we will bring that information to you as we get it. I believe that there are a few states that have already closed their polls, and those states are, I know 2 for sure, is Vermont, which I believe Kamala Harris has won, and Kentucky, which former President Trump has won. So as these states come in, we are going to give you that information. It's going to be a long night. I believe we're going to about 10:30 this evening. We're going to bring you this information again as we get it. Be sure to comment online. There's folks monitoring that so we can get your questions and concerns out. to the public. And if you have any information, I'm very curious to know from those watching how that early voted and even voted today. What was their voting experience like? There's been a lot of apprehension, I think is the fair way to say it, in regards to going out to vote. People thought it was going to be turmoil. Some thought there could be acts of violence or something at the polls. From what I have heard on the state level and from what I've heard on a national level, there's been very few incidents. I know that from the social media posts that I've seen from so many people voting today at different times, they were very, very calm. They got in and out. Some people had to go back a second time, but it wasn't due to confusion. It was just, hey, I don't want to stand in these lines for so long, which is understandable, but we have to make it a point to go back, right? We have to go back in lines. There's always going to be some sort of issues in regards to people trying to pull a fast one or whatever, but I truly believe that the trained election professionals that are there were really on high alert and trying to thwart that from occurring and ensuring that people had ease when it came to casting their votes. So hats off to them. For a lot of them, their nights are just beginning. It's going to be 8 p.m. The polls are closed, and we are beginning the tally. From what I've heard is that the early votes and the absentee ballots are counted first. So we should have those numbers fairly soon. And then the general election votes that were cast today will begin to fall out throughout the day. So we will bring those to you as soon as we can. Also, some of our, myself and the guests, we've isolated some races that we believe will be very interesting for you here in Delaware, and we will bring those to you and give you our ideas of how things are going to go. I think for me, my idea, and I'll be upfront, I think it's going to be a hard road for some Republican candidates, but I think it's going to be close regardless. I don't foresee any big blowouts this year. Again, I could be wrong. Maybe in our Senate race, there could be a blowout, but for the most part, I think we'll be okay. In 10 minutes or so, we're going to bring you live coverage from Lisa Blunt Rochester's campaign. They are having a get-together and a campaign party, and we'll be able to bring you that information. And we're going to have live, I believe Ivan is there currently, and should have a live feed in regards to that. No one else in the area is giving you this coverage but us, and we're excited to do it. We also have coverage at the Democratic headquarters party that is at the Chase Center here in Wilmington. So we're excited to be able to bring that to you as well. And there are several politicians in the race, not in the race, Delaware folks that can give you information. They are all going to be live, so it should be a very, very, very interesting evening for you. So please stay tuned. Don't change the channel. Be sure to comment and let us know not only how we're doing, but things that you want to see or some questions that you may have. So we're going to take a quick commercial break here. So please stay tuned. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be here. I'm going to have my guest. I have Jane Brady, who is former Attorney General for the state of Delaware, and she is going to be here and giving us her information in regards to the Republican Party and how things are going and dealing with the election. So we're excited again to have her on. She was here for the primary election coverage as well. So it's not just me. It'll be both sides of the aisle giving you information and ideas. And we will be back soon. Sit tight right here.
DETV has been Delaware's premium provider of creative digital and broadcasting solutions that bridges communities and connects people. We create great stories for all audiences. We deliver independent news throughout Delaware, We are digital platform innovators, and we develop marketing and sales solutions so you can stay connected to your audience. Now, why do we do what we do here on DETV? We do it because we care. So, keep watching and follow us on all of our social media platforms. Remember, DETV, online, on air, on time.
Still searching for cheap gas prices? Dump the pump and ride DART. You can DART to your destination for only $4 all day. Let DART do the driving while you enjoy our free Wi-Fi available on all buses statewide. While scrolling through your favorite apps, don't forget to download DART's free transit app for real-time bus information and enjoy the convenience of contactless fare payment through DART Pass. So what are you waiting for? Dump the pump and try transit. Visit dartfirststate.com or call 1-800-652-DART.
Government doesn't make a move without an agenda, some type of plan. The problem is we haven't been on the agenda. Sometimes we're overlooked. Sometimes our interests aren't the interests of those in power. I'm your host, Kerwin Gaines, on DETV's new show, The Agenda. We're going to do our best to ensure that you, Delawareans, are knowledgeable about what's going on in the Assembly. Federal government, local government, it doesn't matter. We're going to do our best to ensure that folks that make the agenda on a daily basis have to answer for it. Let them explain what they're doing. If it affects you, it's on the agenda. Welcome back, Delaware. I am Kerwin Gaines here on DETV, a special news briefing. We are covering the 2024 general election right here on DETV, bringing you all the information for all Delawareans, and as well on the national level. We're excited that you're here. Tonight I am joined with Jane Brady, who is a big insider here in the state of Delaware, just not on the Republican Party, but on both sides of the aisle. And she also served as Attorney General at one point here in the state. And we are excited that she is here giving us her ideas and her thoughts on these upcoming races. Welcome, Ms. Brady.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Please call me Jane.
Jane, yeah. Thank you. So tonight it is, we're back at it again. It's been, what, 2 months or a month or so since you've been on?
2 months.
2 months. And I am very curious to know your thoughts on how you think, let's start at the national level. How do you think that's going to go? Who do you believe is going to be declared the winner?
Well, I'll tell you, it's so close. It's close and it's not close. I don't see an overwhelming victory for Kamala Harris. I see the potential for an overwhelming victory for Donald Trump. So it's either going to be he's going to bring it home at the end because the momentum has been building, or we're going to be biting our nails for 3 days because we don't know the answer. And I just don't know where it's going to fall. I've talked to 15 or 20 people in the Trump and Vance campaign, in local races, and everybody's the same. They just don't know which way it's going to go.
You know, I thought the same thing, but I'm going to tell you mine. We're looking in Kerwin's crystal ball here. It's a very dim ball. But I think that this is going to end up in the courts. I think it's going to be so close. And just for the sake of turmoil and everything else, I don't think that either party is going to be happy with the results. Maybe I'm a naysayer, maybe I don't know, a pessimist, but I believe that this is going to be a ball of Christmas lights, and it's going to take the courts to figure it out. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope not, because they're still litigating Bush Gore.
Right.
I mean, there's, people still aren't accepting of that, and it would be much better if we don't have to have the courts interpret what the American people intended.
Right.
Right. It would be much better.
I like that. So that the courts don't have to interpret what the American people intended. I like that. I think that Kamala Harris has done, in the amount of time that she has had in order to run for office, she did not have the same amount of time that Donald Trump had.
No, she didn't.
She did not, and I'm not making excuses for her because maybe this is exactly what she needed, but from the amount of time that she did have, she worked very, very hard.
She did.
And I think that any time that you can be in a race since July, basically, and you are neck and neck with a former president, it speaks to who you are and what the country thinks about you.
Well, I honestly think that she brought new energy to the Democrat Party's efforts
Agreed.
At the presidential level.
Agreed.
And so a renewed engagement by more Democrats, I think. I think more Democrats would have sat home than now with her as the candidate, regrettably, for Mr. Biden. But I think that's true. And I think that she benefits by having a very short race, because I think she's a little bit short on her depth of understanding of a lot of the issues. I honestly, if I'd been vice president for the last 3.5 years under a president who was already elderly and infirm, I think I would have been studying up more than it appears that she has been.
I think a lot of that is assumption, right? But I also think that we don't know what she knows.
We don't.
We don't know what she knows. We don't know. I know. I'm pretty certain that if you're a vice president, but someone of her caliber as well, you're always on the ready, and I see her as always being on the ready. I won't second guess knowledge that we won't, because if she wins, we are going to find out right away, right? Because our country has a lot of issues right now that are hot.
You don't have a choice.
We don't have a choice,
but to be
right.
on the ready, you have to be on the ready. I mean, if you're going to be in the position of potentially becoming president of the United States, you have to be ready to do that job.
And we saw that Donald Trump had never been a president before, never served elected office before, and he came in. We're dealing with Kamala Harris, who is not only served in office, but was the Attorney General of the state of California, was a senator in the state of California, served as vice president. I think she's ready. I think she's more than ready, and I think America is ready for her. Dealing with the governor's race, this has been contested. No, I wouldn't say contested, wrong word. It has been dirty at times. It has been hard at times. Delaware hasn't seen anything like it. There was a very tough primary. Now we are at the final level, and I'm very anxious to see how this goes. What do you think of Mike Ramone's chances in regards to
It's
the
a very
governor
tough race. He was outspent by a significant amount of money.
10-1.
I don't think he'll be outvoted 10-1. I don't think he'll be outvoted 2-1. I think Mike has a real quality about him that connects with voters. He's a very personable guy. He cares deeply, and that's evident from the minute you meet him. He's a funny guy in the sense that a little self-deprecating, and he's kind of sloppy around the edges. You know, he's not real succinct and crisp and direct sometimes, but he is very well informed, and he's been an excellent member of the state legislature. Matt Meyer's done a good job as county exec, some would say. Some are very much opposed to him who live in the county, but he's got in fairly detailed plans for a lot of what he wants to do with regard to housing, health care, and education. I disagree vehemently with him on education. He wants to pour a lot more money into a system that's already bloated and broken, and I take issue with what's needed in education with him. But if you want to know what Matt Meyer thinks, he's put it out there.
Right, he has. Both you and I are both very adamant about education here in the state of Delaware.
Yes,
regardless of what side of the aisle we fall on, we both feel that a change needs to be had, and we are not. And we've had conversations off the air that both of us are not going to sit idly by and
We
wait.
can't.
We can't. We don't have the time. So. Regardless of who is chosen, they both are going to meet us in regards to telling us what their expectations are and setting up some milestones on when we, the public, begin to see some change in our educational system here in Delaware. And to me, I just want to touch on it briefly. If the candidates are keeping the Department of Education in the same format in which it currently is, under the same charter that it currently is, and there's no change in regards to that, I don't think that either whomever is chosen I think that we may have made a bad choice, right? So
Right.
we need someone who understands that the issue is greater than that, and that we need systemic change in our educational system here in the state of Delaware.
Absolutely, we do. You know, the wonder of Mississippi is that instead of just teaching kids to read, suddenly every kid had an individual education plan on getting to third grade proficiency in reading. Every parent, every student, every teacher was focused on each student's capability of reading at a third grade level. They had an objective and they had consequences, and so nobody wanted to let the kids down, so every kid got the attention they needed to get to a third grade proficiency in reading. And once you can read, you can learn, and you can teach yourself. You know, it's a freeing event, and we need to have some consequences and accountability and objectives and clear, distinct objectives on where we want to be, what we want to achieve, and then everybody works toward that. And reading is a key that opens all the doors. And that's where we should be focusing, and not just teaching teachers to read, but teaching how to teach reading, but teaching kids to read.
Yeah, and it's not a partisan issue. I've been to 4 or 5, I moderated gubernatorial debates, and I also moderated 2 lieutenant governor debates, and it's on both sides. The one thing they do agree on is that education needs to be changed. What was not clear is how they choose to change education. Matt Meyer has his plan. Mike Romano has his plan. Ramon, has his plan. And I think that both of them, I would have loved to see them if they could have worked together to come up with one, right? I think we would have been able to utilize them both.
I think they come from different places, though.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yeah.
I mean, they went out, Matt Meyer wants to add, $100 million to the budget. We already are in the top 5, 6, 8 in spending in the country,
right.
And we're 47th in performance by
right.
students. We're not getting a return on our investment, and throwing more money into a system that's already broken is good money after bad.
Right.
We need to change how we're spending our money and how we're structuring the delivery of services so the kids learn.
Right. I definitely agree with that as a taxpayer and as a Delawarean, as having kids in the school system. I don't think this is an issue in regards to dollars and cents. No, this is about managing the monies that they do have and kind of centralizing everything. I know Mr. Ramon took more of a business standpoint.
The business model that every school should have decision-making authority.
Right.
That was his position. And that by having local decision-making, you get better attention to what the kids in that particular school need.
Right.
And so he is very much in favor of giving the principals authority over their schools,
Right.
rather than centrally locating the power.
I think he's on a correct track. I don't know if that's the track, but I at least he's thinking and coming up with some ideas.
Well, we need a school system, instead of hindering choice, that encourages choice, that encourages charter, which is a public school, that we see better results out of the public schools that are charter schools than we do out of the schools that are not, in most cases. And I think that offering parents the choice about where the schools are that offer their children the best opportunity is the best approach to take. And instead of deciding what kind of education you get by how much house your parents can afford,
Right.
you have an education system that allows the parent to choose where their child is educated and gets to shop around and figure out what school is taking the right approach that's going to work with my child.
Right. And it's going to be a difficult road. My problem was flash to bang, and by that, how long will it be before we begin to see change, right? Our flashes, we're bringing in new elected officials. They have great plans. They're bringing in new staff. They're figuring out the ways to do this. But are we going to have to wait a decade before we see change in our schools? Are we going to have to wait 6 years? Are we going to have to wait? When are we going to begin to see something different?
Well, Mississippi changed their law about 6 years ago, and they went from 49th or 50th in the country to 26th or 27th. I mean, they really jumped up. So clearly, teaching kids to read changes everything immediately. It doesn't change it for every kid immediately, but it begins that process, and you have to keep moving forward, bringing the kids with you as you go. And so I think, again, I'm a big teach kids to read, they can learn, and I'm a big a proponent of that. And so not every kid in Mississippi reads at third grade level when they're in third grade, but so many of them do that their accomplishments are just stellar compared to where they were.
We can talk about education all night.
We could.
Let's talk about the
I'm looking to see they have
lieutenant governor's race. We didn't want to forget about them.
No.
It is King Briggs against Myers-Gay. How do you see this one going?
I think Ruth has a better chance in terms of the way that the numbers have gone, the money has gone, the issues have gone. Ruth is very well known statewide. She's introduced herself when she was a state legislator to the Hispanic community and the Haitian community. The minority community in Sussex County in particular really knows her well. She's met with the Muslim community in Newcastle County and with other minority leaders in Newcastle County. She has a really good grasp on the issues, and when she talks, it's clear that she knows what she's talking about. So I think that she hasn't had that spending disparity as great as Mike's and Matt Myers' race, and so I think that perhaps she has a better shot.
So I'm very anxious to see this race. It seemed as though Ms. Gay has fallen right in with Matt Meyer, and they are working together to, I guess, solicit the vote on the Democratic side, and are working together well in regards to that. I hope that all of their efforts, are favorable, but you never know. You never know. I think it's going to be very, very close. I was hoping that we would have something from the election.
Well, they just opened up.
Okay.
I've got it open here on my iPad, and they just now opened up the choice to click into this year's election. But I see at this juncture, I see no numbers reported yet.
Let us know at home if you all are finding a site that's bringing in more information. We'd love to go through and look through that with you
no numbers,
and let us know what's going on. I think it's important also on the Senate site, we talked about that on the Senate side. I believe that the Department of Elections has already called that for Lisa Blunt Rochester.
I don't think the Department of Elections has. I think one of the media outlets
has. Okay.
I'll tell you a funny story. When I ran against Joe Biden in 1990, we were watching the news, and they said, the East Coast, the polls have closed. In Delaware, we predict that Joe Biden will be reelected. And I looked at my dad and said, I lasted 7 seconds. There are some races that they call without even knowing the numbers.
Right. And we'll see, as I told you, it'll be soon here that we are going to bring you, I believe Ivan Thomas is at Lisa's site, and hopefully we will have an interview with her shortly and bring you that information as well. But Jane, you had some other races that you wanted to discuss?
Yes, I think certainly for the Republican Party, concern about the 2 House races in Newcastle County involving Kevin Hensley and Mike Smith, who are 2 Republican incumbents, are of importance. I think that the Senate race down in Sussex County involving Russ Huxtable and Kim Hoy Stevenson is going to be one that's going to be one to watch tonight.
Okay.
I think that the race in the 14th, Pete Schwarzkopf has been an incumbent for a long time down there, and the person who won the 3-way Democrat primary was the most liberal person in that race. And Kathy McGinnis, who had been a statewide office holder, endorsed by Pete, lost that primary, but has been both of them, I think, candidly, have been active behind the scenes in trying to help the more conservative candidate, Mike Simpler, because they don't agree with the very extreme Democrat primary victor.
Right. And it's a lot. Some folks don't understand, and maybe you can speak to it, is that Sussex County is changing in regards to its voter base. You know, it used to be just red, and now we're getting a lot of the folks moving in from the retirement side that come from these blue states and bringing those blue state ideas into the area. So now it's really turning purple.
I don't think it's purple.
You don't think it's purple?
I think Kent County is
it's kind of
purple.
hazy.
I don't think so. They've got, I mean, we had no elected Democrat individuals in that whole county 2 years ago. So
Right.
now we have a couple. But I will say that the Republicans have been very energized this year. The number of people who voted early in Sussex County is larger than the number of people who voted early in Newcastle County. And Newcastle County has way more people, registered voters, than Sussex County.
Do we have some results in for Delaware?
I'm looking. Let's see here. I just got a text, but it's
So
about,
right
it's about President
now,
Trump.
with 55% of the vote, Lisa Blunt Rochester, and I can't say, I believe as Eric Hansen had 40% of the vote, and Dr. Michael Katz had about 3% of the vote. So
That's not surprising.
It, you know,
It's a third-party
independent,
candidate.
it's hard,
tough.
it's hard, but those are some things that we have right now. So Delaware has its first female senator. Sarah McBride is at 57% of the vote, and John Whalen has 42% of the vote.
And the Department of Elections has 0 numbers up. I'm going to have to refresh again.
We are excited about that. So could you bring those up again? I would like to see, yeah, Sarah is at 57%, and that is...
How many have reported, according to that?
John Whalen again with 42%. Are these the final votes?
They
Our
can't.
final tallies? We'll see.
I'm sure they're not final. But, you know, the Department of Elections still has no, I'm going to shut it down and bring it back up again because it still had no numbers.
So much information.
There
So
we
we're
go.
trying to
There
be
we
as
go.
patient as we possibly can
So
in
the
regards to, I understand and appreciate everything that Department of Elections is under the gun today.
They
And
are.
so is their website.
It doesn't say what percent they have
30% in.
reported.
For the
30%.
U.S. representative between Sarah McBride and John Whalen, 30% of the vote is in.
Okay.
So that's what we have so far.
Yeah.
Good. Good. So that information is coming in. Is there anything on the gubernatorial side that's coming in?
I see, let's see.
Matt Meyer with 30% of the vote in. I believe Matt Meyer is at 55%, and Mike Ramone is at 44%, and that's with 30% of the vote in. So
Lieutenant Governor's race, 54-45 in favor of the Democrat Kyle Gay.
Okay. So we are getting that information into you. Yeah, so right now, Kyle Evans Gay is leading with 30% of the vote in. And this is the early vote tally along with the absentee tally, more than likely. She's at 54%. Ruth Briggs King is at 45%. And again, that's with 30% in. So what do you think with that number? Are you shocked about that?
You know, I'm looking, this has 0 machine votes yet.
Right.
And that means that the Republicans will show lower numbers. Generally speaking, the Democrats dominate in early voting, and the Republicans win the race on election day. So even Trump won on election day.
Right.
But the early voting and absentee voting that happened carried the race in 2020 for Joe Biden.
So let's take a look at the county council president race. Do we have that information in? Right now, Newcastle County president and council, what With 13% in, Monique Johns has 10%, and Melissa Brayman has 66%, and that's only with 13% in. I know that's a shock for some people, especially there's been a little bit of controversy this week in regards to, and last week with Monique Johns and some things that went on, but I am very optimistic that we can see how this race turns out. I know that a lot of folks in the county went out and voted and really took interest in regards to this race. Your thoughts on that one?
I'm kind of interested in the at-large. I didn't follow the controversy that happened this week. I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, there was a little bit of controversy in regards to funding, I believe, for winning the election and whether or not funds could be used for a party should they win. And they're like, well, that's a little early. It's a little early to have that discussion.
A little early, yeah.
Let's talk about also the city council at large.
City Council at large, right now, and this is without any machine votes being reported by the Department of Elections, Tish Bracy has 1,300 and some, Maria Cabrera has 1,200 and some, Alexander Hackett has 1,100 and some, and then Sean Daughtery and James Spadola. Sean Daughtery has 205, James Spadola has 404.
So,
as you know, the City Council reserves a seat for a minority party. And so since they have three Democrats and 2 Republicans running, you don't have any other minority party. So one of these 2 Republicans, Sean Daughtery or James Spadola, who is the incumbent now, would become a member of the City Council at large because the charter reserves that position for a minority party.
okay, could we take a look at those again on the screen here? Those numbers for City Council. So Letitia Bracy is at 29%. This is only with 30% of the vote in. And Alex Hackett is at 28%. James Spadola is at 9%. Maria Cabrera is at 28%. And Sean Daughtery is at 5% of the vote. And again, this is very early. We're seeing early numbers in. Again, in Kerwin's world, I think this is just the early voting along with the absentee ballots that are being tallied, that are being shown first.
That's it. There's no machine votes being reported. I'm going to refresh again.
So we can take a look at that.
Yeah.
So don't call it yet. Don't call it yet. We're still a lot of evening to go.
No.
Some of the country, as you know, especially on the national side, it's throughout the evening, right? It's 8 o'clock
right.
here, but it's 9 o'clock, and then as you go on across the country, we'll begin to.
It's 8 o'clock here, then it's 8 o'clock there.
Right.
Then it's 8 o'clock there, then it's 8 o'clock there.
Right. So I think that it'll be some time. Again, we'll be on the air here till about 10:30, bringing you as much of the information. There may have been an error on the Newcastle County President's slide that we showed. We're going to bring that back up and correct any errors that we have. Trust us here at DETV. There was a big error. So it's Monique Johns has 66% of the vote, and Melissa Brayman has 33% of the vote. And that's only with 30% in, but right now Monique Johns is leading with 66% of the vote. So that was an error on our part. We apologize, and we'll bring you more information in regards to that as we move forward. So is there anything that's sticking out to you, Jane, in regards to like shockers with that information?
Not really. Didn't say anything, but I was kind of surprised when you misreported the numbers for President of County Council because I expected that to be about where it is now. But I think the machine votes, again, Republicans consistently show better on Election Day. Mm-hmm. And one of the things, and we did some analysis of a couple of rep districts, one of the things I wondered was, are we just moving the people who vote all the time, Republican voters who vote all the time, to an earlier day than Election Day? And are we actually adding votes that are going to go for our candidates or are we just moving when they vote? And we looked at it, and it looks like about 15% of the early votes were low propensity voters. So early voting did, I think, bring out a few more voters. So we'll see. But when we look at the numbers, it'll be a few weeks before we get all the numbers about turnout and by party. But I think we're going to see that turnout increased in part because of early voting, and particularly from the Republican perspective. That's just my gut.
So I have some information. It seems as though Delaware Online has declared Matt Meyer the winner in the gubernatorial race. I think it's a little early, but Delaware Online has declared Matt Meyer the winner for the race and for governor in the state of Delaware. So we'll see directly from the Department of Elections, but very interested to see. We'll see. Congratulations, Matt Meyer. Congratulations. Your thoughts?
I'm going to wait for the machine votes, but it's a pretty significant edge. I'm not so sure that the machine votes will catch it up.
Yeah, pretty big.
Yeah.
And we knew that going in, right?
We knew it was a tough race.
We knew it was going to be uphill. We knew.
God bless Mike Ramone for all the work he's done, and Ruth. I hope that machine votes come through. But if they don't, everybody worked hard. Everybody worked hard. It's tough to work hard and lose. I've done it.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard.
It is. But when it comes down to it, Delaware's been pretty succinct in who they want. And
yeah, they've been pretty consistently Democrat.
we are that town, and unfortunately, things didn't change. But unfortunately for the Republican Party, I think that we'll see. We'll see. I know Matt has some bridges that he needs to rebuild, and hopefully, he can move forward and do that. I think that he'll be very successful. He's very knowledgeable in regards to all the issues. He has a great relationship with so many folks in the community, so he can pick up the phone and make those calls and do those things right away. So we're optimistic that he's going to be very successful as governor here for the state.
Well, we all will work together to help him be successful, because if the governor, whoever it is successful, that means Delawareans are successful. So every person in Delaware should, when the announcement is made and it's certain as to who is the governor, everyone should rally behind that individual to help them succeed.
Right. So, and there won't be any change in regards to that. We have always done it. We will continue to do that. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I would like to know Mike Ramone's thoughts in regards to this. It would be great if we could have somebody do a live connect with him. I would like to know Matt Myers.
I don't think he's going to say anything until the machine votes come in.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
I think it would be too early to do that. It would be premature.
Premature. Okay. Okay. So do we have anything in regards to anything more in regards to the lieutenant governor's race? Could you bring that up again for everyone at home? Okay, we'll work on getting that. So right now, again, with 30% in, 55% going to Kyle Evans-Gay, 45% going to Ruth Briggs King. We made it clear that the machine votes aren't there, but that's a 10% gap. That's another pretty big gap.
It's a pretty big gap.
It's going to be a lot to close that one.
It is.
It's going to be a lot.
I have to acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I know that both of those candidates work very hard. And this is the thing, a lot of people don't know, they're already friends, right? They've served in Dover together. They've worked on legislation together. They know each other. It wasn't as controversial of an election.
I don't think there was a lot of animus in anybody's race this year. There were one or two races, but for the most part, very civil, issue-oriented races.
Right. I believe that we have live coverage right now from Lisa Blunt Rochester's campaign. No, not yet. We're getting there. Oh, there she is.
And we're bringing bright hope to the United States Senate. I stand here before you tonight extremely humbled and with a heart filled with gratitude to God and to the people of Delaware who put their trust in me. Our journey has been paved with historic high hills and even violent valleys on January 6th. But I'm here tonight to tell you, Delaware, that this is ours, and the Diamond State is shining bright. Even in these most challenging of times and stressful times, it's stressful. It's a little stressful. You feel a little stressed? A little anxious? A little nauseous? Even in these stressful times, I have seen the greatness of the First State because I've seen the goodness of her people. I've seen it through my time serving you, and I've seen it each and every day on the campaign trail. From that small business owner in Middletown that shared with me the feeling of pride getting the keys to their first shop, to the family farmer in Felton who cares for their land and is building a future for generations to come, to the community leaders and activists who showed me contaminated well water in communities like Ellendale and lead pipes that needed replacement in Wilmington, who today, because of their efforts, because of your efforts, are bringing clean drinking water to families right here in Delaware. And recently, I heard it from a passionate voice of a woman who had been widowed, who came up to me at a restaurant in Smyrna, and she said, "I saw you run for office after your husband died unexpectedly." She said, "You got up, so I got up." And I see it every time a child approaches me and says, "I did my school project on you." Like, Delaware, I know bright hope for our future is real. This campaign has been about your hopes, your dreams, your fears, and your aspirations. And my time in the Senate will always also be about you. We all know that Delaware is more than just a small state, don't we? We are fields and farms. We are beaches and bays. We are cities and towns from Bridgeville to Southbridge. Our communities represent the textured tapestry that is America. Delaware is America. And you know what? America is worth fighting for. We are a country that is strengthened over time by the soul and sacrifice of those who serve, and by all of those who came before us. So, as I prepare to step foot on that trail blazed by 3 strong Black women senators who came before us, Ambassador Carol Moseley Braun, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Senator LaFonza Butler, I have a message to the young people who are standing up, speaking up, and giving your all for your country and the world. I see you, I'm grateful to you, and you got next. You got next. You've got next. Now, my journey was an unlikely one. When I first ran for Congress, there were some folks who said I couldn't win. Okay, there were a lot of folks who said I couldn't win. had never elected a woman or a person of color to the House or the Senate. I was widowed, I was over 50, and I had never run for anything in my life. But every story I heard up and down our state propelled me, pushed me to just keep going. And in 2016, after a 6-way primary and a general election, we won. We won. I am so proud of what we've accomplished over the last 8 years, from creating jobs, lowering the cost of goods, tackling housing affordability, expanding access to health care, to name a few. These wins are because of you, members of our incredible coalition, nurses, teachers, firefighters, labor unions, entrepreneurs, veterans, artists, farmers, young people, parents, and saged seniors. So, first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of you, every single member of Team LBR. And there are two people who aren't physically in this room tonight, but who are with me in spirit every single day. To my late husband, Charles Rochester, my love, you were and continue to be a gift from God. And to quote a lyric from an upcoming movie, because I knew you, I have been changed for the good. And the other person is Dad, Ted Blunt. Ted Blunt. Thank you. Dad passed away earlier this year from leukemia. And he taught me everything I know about respecting others and yourself, that your word is your bond. He taught me about the power of public service because I saw it each and every day in him. So Dad, this one is for you. This is for you. This is for you. Tonight in this room, I must also thank friends, neighbors, staff, extended family, and especially somebody who, without this person, none of this would have been possible, my mom. Mom, thank you so much for being my first best friend and for being the cornerstone of our family. I love you and I am so grateful for you. And to my family, my incredible, brilliant, bold sisters, Thea and Marla, thank you for being by my side each and every step of the way on this journey, along with my niece Hannah, my nephews Miles and Jordan, my brothers-in-law Mark and Richard. Happy birthday, Mark. I am so grateful, but I am eternally, eternally, eternally grateful for my children. My beautiful daughters, Alyssa, my daughter-in-law, Ebony, and my son, Alex. You give me peace in the storm, and you give me joy each and every day. And speaking of joy, no offense to my kids, but the most abundant joy is in the room too, and that is my granddaughter, Lennox. Yeah! I also have to thank a few people who aren't just special to me, but are also special to Delaware and the entire country. First, my friend, mentor, champion, former boss, and dedicated senator from the great state of Delaware, TC Tom Carper. TC, I want to thank you, and I will tell you, I want to build on your incredible legacy. And we must thank Martha Carper, too, because there would be no Tom Carper without Martha Carper. I was going to say, will you show him a big round of applause, but you already did it. But again, thank you so much, Senator Carper, for all of your hard work. We love you. And I'm looking forward to working every day with Delaware's incredible, soon-to-be next senior senator, Chris Coons. I know in Chris, I couldn't ask for a better partner in the Senate. And I can't wait for us to work with the incomparable Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. And tonight, as we wait for the votes to be counted and Vice President Kamala Harris to become our next president, I just want to say 4 words. Thank you, Joe Biden. Yes, Joe. Yes. To my team from my congressional office, to the campaign. You can see the congressional office is representing. And our incredible campaign, I am so proud of you. From serving our state and letting me be blunt, to breaking records in fundraising, doors knocked, voters reached outreach. For those of you who made sacrifices and made this happen, I want to say thank you to each and every one of you, and to every single volunteer and supporter who knocked those doors, who walked in those parades, who called a voter, who made spaghetti, my best friend Michelle, made a donation, held a sign, or just said a prayer. Tonight's victory is because of you, and so too will our victories in the Senate be. These victories will be a result of the work we do together. Together, we will lower costs so that families don't have to choose between putting food on the table or going to an emergency room. Together, we will strengthen and protect the jobs of today and the future. Better skills, higher wages, expanded benefits. Together, we will pass common sense gun reform, yes, combat climate change, and ensure a better, safer world and future for our children. Together, and I'm gonna say this, you've heard me say it before, together we will make it plain that there is no room in our wombs for politicians. We're taking our rights back. We're taking our rights back. Now, I know this may seem ambitious, but little old Delaware has done big things, and we're not stopping now. Is it going to be easy? No. But what history tells us is that the toughest of times requires the brightest of hope, with all of us doing our part. And right now, in this moment, we don't need a little hope. We don't need some hope. We don't need normal hope. What we need is bright hope. Bright hope is illuminating. It's inspirational. It motivates us to be our best selves and to bring out the best in each other. Many of you know that Bright Hope was the name of the church that my grandmother attended for 70 years. And for me, it's not just a name. It's how I approach my life. It's how I led in the house with my colleague, Robin Kelly, who traveled here from Chicago. Stand up, Robin. Yes. And that's how I'll lead as the next United States Senator from Delaware. Now, I know some of you are saying that these words might not, these words might not really fit the politics right now, that we are broken, that people are broken, the politics are broken. But here's the thing. Bright hope shines brightest in the dark. Bright hope is not settling for what we see. It's bringing to life what we dream. Bright hope is not just about making history, it's about making a difference and blazing a trail so that the way is easier for the change makers who will one day follow us. Bright hope is a nation coming back together again, undeterred by the challenges, buoyed by our faith and not our fears, inspired to put aside our differences, following the platinum rule, to treat your neighbors as they want to be treated. Instead of our backs turned against each other, we walk shoulder to shoulder into the promised land that was promised. Because bright hope isn't just the destination, it's the journey. In Delaware, as we embark upon this new journey, here is my commitment to you, that I will go to the Senate each and every day with you in my heart and on my mind, whether you voted for me or not. That I will continue to seek out those who want to work for common good and common ground of our state, our country, and our world. And that I will always, always, always listen to you, and that Delaware will always come first. Because as we said on day one, when Lisa goes to Washington, we all go to Washington. Thank you, Delaware! Thank you, Delaware, and God bless America!
Have it. Lisa Blunt Rochester is the first female senator from the state of Delaware. Congratulations, Lisa. We are going to take a very brief break, commercial break. But first, according to an AP poll right now, Kamala Harris has 99 points on the road to 270, and Trump has 120. So we'll have a little bit more information in regards to that when we come back. We're going to take a quick break. It's not over. Stay tuned. Right here, DETV.
Get your Treasure Trail passport and visit 12 top attractions for one low price.
A new beginning, a second chance. Call it what you want, but this is what never giving up looks like. This is what finding someone who believes in you looks like. I thought Goodwill was just a store until a friend told me about Train to Gain through Goodwill's Job Resource Center. After 5 years away, I had a lot of self-doubt and fear about my future. But Goodwill had my back, and today, I love where I work. They matched me with an employer who believes in second chances, and now I have a new start thanks to Goodwill.
To learn more about Goodwill's career development opportunities, call today.
You know the why for state-of-the-art fitness centers and amazing pools.
But we're so much more.
The Y is where Delawareans improve their health.
Where our communities get stronger.
Where everyone belongs.
It's where we battle chronic disease.
Where cancer survivors restore their mind and body.
And weight loss goals become lifelong habits.
We are the Y.
Good for you and good for the community.
Welcome back to DETV, our election coverage for 2024. Thank you so much for choosing DETV to be your source of election information. We know there are so many choices that you have nowadays, and you probably have your phone in your lap, and don't worry, we're streaming there too. So make sure that you choose us and to get all of your election coverage. We promised you guests throughout the night. We have, I don't even think she's a guest anymore. She's on so much. Jen Tompkins is here from the Wilmington Urban League, and she is Metropolitan Urban League, excuse me. And she is here to tell us a little bit about what, so first, Jen, of course, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for having you back on. You, over the past week or two, but I mean, not just then, but really over the past week or two, have been pushing people to get to the polls.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the Urban League has, on a national scale, has a Reclaim Your Votes campaign. And so reclaiming our votes is simply making sure that you are educated on voting, that you register to vote, and most importantly, that you get out to the polls. And so I will say we have been hard on this initiative for quite some time, particularly probably the beginning of this year. And this is an initiative that is not old to or new to the Urban League, but it is something that we do in every election cycle. And I'm glad to say today, because of our efforts, we saw that number change from where we saw it in the primaries to where we are today with record numbers at the polls, just not here in Delaware, but also across the nation. And so I would like to say that we were a part of that effort and leading to that. So certainly a great impact. Yeah, and it was noticeable. Yeah. It was definitely noticeable. Yeah. I am optimistic. I made a comment at the beginning of the broadcast, and I still am holding to it, that I think we are going to set some records in regards to voter turnout for this election. And that's. Do you just mean statewide, or you mean nationally? Well, let's take it one thing at a time. Okay, one thing at a time, because I believe we're going to hit both. Honestly. I can see that, and I can see that. I was just terrified, and I mean absolutely terrified when I saw the primary turnout. That made me think, oh boy. 22%. Oh boy. You know, we're in trouble in the general election. How are we going to pull anything off? And that isn't to say, oh, well, Kerwin, you were only worried about the Democratic turnout. No, that's not the case at all. I don't appreciate your comments. I know they're coming. No, that's just as an American, you know, to go through the election process, you don't get a true sense of anything. Right, and this is one of the things that I will also say. Elections are the voices of the people. Right. Oftentimes we think elections are just solely about the candidates, but it's really about the voice of the people, and the people deciding where do you want your country, your state, your county, your city to go in, right? What direction, what policies are you leaning into? And so it really is the voice of the people. So when we as a people, when we see high voter turnout, it begins to almost transform this election cycle almost into empowerment, right? In that the power belongs in the people's hands, because that's what the people are saying, right? When they choose a candidate, when you have record number of voters like this. You have large margins of winning that we're seeing here. I mean, Matt Meyer crushed Mike Ramone. It's saying something of the voice of the people, right? And so, and the people have spoken and they have chosen, and this is where the people are deciding. So I'm very interested to see on a national scale where the people lie, and exactly what the American people decide to do in this. Will we lean into our values of certainly of our democratic values as they were conceived, or do we lean into something else, right? And so I'm very interesting, but I believe, as we go into the rest of this night and as we go through possibly even the next couple of days, right, that it will literally be the voices of the people who are deciding all of this. So
I know it's hard for you.
It is hard for me.
With your position to say, who do you think's going to win? And I but I don't know if you can comment so far on what do you think of the results on the state side so far? I mean,
yes. So I can comment, and so just saw our new senator-elect, Lisa Blunt Rochester, and so outside of Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester actually sat in my seat as the president and CEO of the Metropolitan Wilmington Urban League. She was our second president and CEO. And so certainly we share the bond of the Urban League and the beauty of the Urban League, and certainly want to congratulate her in this historic win as the first woman and first African-American senator from the state of Delaware.
Hey, briefly, we have Chris Coons, and we're going to go to him at the Chase Center right now, if possible. In just a few minutes, just a few minutes. We're trying to get that connection there. He's going to come on and give us some more. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries.
We are dealing with
this is election night coverage,
election
right?
night as it happens.
As it happens, fresh off the press. No
as
worries.
It happens.
This is the beauty of election
night. Well, it's one way to describe it. Jane, quick question to you. How do you feel after hearing all these results?
Well, the good news is I've looked at the most recent reporting, and for the Republicans, Kevin Hensley and Mike Smith look like they're going to be reelected. And Brian Shoup, who only won his primary by like 12 votes, overwhelmingly won the general election. So the concerns that the Republicans had about losing a sufficient vote to have a supermajority of Democrats in the House doesn't look like it's going to happen. On the other side, we did not pick up the Senate seat. It looks like Huxtable's going to win. Very close race with Nikki Miller in that House seat, but it doesn't look like she's going to make it. It's still very close, but most of the machine votes are in now. So I would say that what we're seeing is, in large part, incumbents are winning. And even if they weren't running for the same office, Lisa Blunt Rochester, Sarah McBride, Matt Meyer, all incumbent office holders, and they have won their races, it appears. So I would say that not a lot's changing in Delaware.
Not a lot's changing. I feel optimistic with Lisa coming in. I think that Carper has done an excellent job, yeoman's work for the state. For a very long time, and from his terms as a governor and even before, all the way up to becoming senator, I think he has done a wonderful job for the state. But I also think sometimes it's good to have change, right? It's good to have change, and this is a big change for Delaware, right? Oh yeah. This is a huge change for the country, having another African American female senator. That is not a long list. That is a very short list. And to have Delaware's own as one of the new members, I think is great. But there's another race out there that could determine another Senate seat. But I love the fact that Delaware is still on the map. You know what I mean? And we're getting it done. I am very confident that Lisa's going to get some stuff done.
Oh, absolutely, and I'm confident of that as well.
Yeah. She will not be She is not going to be a pushover. Washington, get ready. Yeah. So we're excited about that. We're ready right now for Matt Meyer and Chris Coons at the Chase Center. So we're going to bring you some of that coverage right now. Sit tight. Here we go.
Very excited for what Delaware voters have done today in making history.
We had two women make history today, Sarah McBride and Lisa Blunt Rochester. Can you tell us what that means for not just Delaware, but for America as a whole?
This is a significant step forward, a new generation of leaders for Delaware. They will both be speaking later this evening, so I don't want to speak on the topics they will address, but I very much look forward to having them join the congressional delegation. We've been friends for years. I've known them for decades, and I'm looking forward to serving Delaware with them.
You and Representative Blunt Rochester worked very hard in campaigning for Vice President Harris and Tim Walz. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, as campaign co-chairs, I've traveled around the country. I've campaigned in several key swing states, hosted fundraisers, and worked on the media. I've done a lot of interviews, first on behalf of the Biden-Harris campaign, and then when it shifted, Lisa and I both went to the Harris-Walz campaign. We have had hundreds of staff here in Wilmington for over a year. They've been a great addition to the Wilmington community, and this has been a great place for the Vice President and Governor Walz to have as their headquarters.
Senator, of course.
I could stop you if you do that take again.
Yeah.
A guy walked right in front of the camera while you guys were doing that take.
No, sorry.
Is this not live?
No. Oh, I thought we were live. Are they recording it? Okay, we're live. All right. We are live. All right, we're back with Senator Chris Coons. Senator, I wanted to ask you, we have the local results coming in with Kerwin in studio, and we also have the live results coming in national through broadcast as well. What do you feel like Delawareans, the message they're sending with these results that are coming in tonight?
I think Delawareans are saying they want to continue the forward progress we've made in recent years, both here in Delaware and nationally. They called Delaware for Harris-Walz almost immediately when the polls closed. They called the races for Lisa Blunt Rochester and for Matt Meyer for the Senate and for governor almost immediately. And I think what you're seeing from Delaware voters is they want to continue the strong and robust economy, the progress on some key social issues, the commitment to a cleaner environment, to cleaner air and water, to better opportunity, and to a more inclusive and just society.
You teed up my next question for you, Senator. I wanted to ask, you're in D.C. day in and day out, right, when you're not here in Delaware. What are some of the key issues that, on the campaign trail that you're hearing from voters throughout the country and around the area? What are you hearing that they're worried about?
They're worried about the economy. They want to know that we're going to continue the growth that has started strongly. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we've brought hundreds of thousands of new high-skilled, high-wage manufacturing jobs to the United States. We've invested billions into infrastructure, but they want to know we're going to keep making that progress, reducing the cost of housing, reducing the cost of health care and prescription drugs, and investing more in an opportunity economy.
Sounds great. Senator, thank you so much for joining me. I certainly appreciate it. Thanks for being here tonight. We'll see you soon. Our thanks to Senator Chris Coons. We'll send it back to Kerwin now, live in the studio. Hey, Kerwin.
For everything that you're doing there. I love live television. It is no exception this time. People just walking in front of you and Senator Coons there. I love it, but we're showing you right now. DETV is on the site. We are trying to get as many candidates as we possibly can. Matt, you did an excellent job there in bringing that information to us. We're looking here, and I'm seeing that CNN is reporting currently 30 points to Trump's 154, but as Ms. Tompkins has brought to my attention, those are just the southern states, and those are very early. Jen, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is certainly, again, this is going to be the voice of the people.
How about the senators
we'll
there?
see in many of the states where Vice President Harris lands, and certainly former President Trump lands as well. This is early. This is early.
Very early.
This is very early. You had, again, going back to the record number of voters. I mean, Georgia had almost and I don't want to misquote, but I think Georgia had about close to 4 million early voters. And so you're talking about these are large numbers. Of
4 times the state of Delaware. Early voting.
Early voting, right? And so in Pennsylvania probably has the same, these kind of battleground states. And so it's going to be really early. And so I'll be very surprised if anything is called tonight. And so I think this is going to be a battle for the next couple of days. And again, we will hear what the American people have to say.
You've been knocking on doors on behalf of the Urban League here, getting people out to vote, and I mean that. You all were literally going door to door, reminding people of their obligation to vote. What, if you could, what has been the consensus of the folks as they open the door, besides get off my porch? But, you know, what have they been saying to you as far as what their needs are and what they're expecting from our elected officials?
Yeah, so I think there's this discouragement and almost apathy to voting in the sense of, I have voted, but I see nothing change in my immediate neighborhood. I see nothing change with my immediate situation. And, you know, part of that we can blame on the society in which we live, right? There is certainly this idea of immediacy. And so that's on one end to know, hey, I elect someone, where are the changes, right? And they need to happen instantaneous. And then this other part of this is understanding, you know, when we take things like civics out of the school, it does produce possibly future voters, right, or non-voters, right?
Gaps in information.
Of folks who do not know, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, immediately things in which have nothing to do with kind of your elected official or blamed on the elected official, or there's not an understanding of this, the 3 branches of government and all of that and how that works. And also I think there isn't an understanding of kind of local politics as, you know, obviously, and again, that's not from all voters, but that's something that we've been hearing constantly as we do knock on doors. You know, the other thing is that, and I want to dispel a huge myth, you know, when we get into the voter mobilization, we oftentimes think some of our most disengaged voters are those who may be disadvantaged. And so what we have found in this election, and certainly when we saw the primary and at 22% of voter turnout, that's just not those who may be disadvantaged. Those are also folks who may be considered advantaged, who are not participating in the voting process, right? And so that is something, I think we tackled it on all ends. We didn't, you know, leave any neighborhoods out as far as socioeconomic status to ensure that everyone was really getting out to vote in this election.
Yeah. Jane, you are out in the public too, and what is, from your side of the aisle, what were some of the concerns that you were hearing from folks out there for this election?
Largely the economy. That's been the biggest. Now, I have a lot of conversations about education as well, and there's a lot of concern, but mostly it's the economy. It's how people are able to live and not able to thrive. You know, they notice things are not quite like they used to be. I think that it's impacted every economic level below, you know, the billionaires. They aren't in touch with any of us, right? But regular people, working people, people who have jobs or retired from jobs, every one of them's been affected.
Right.
And I don't think most of them think they have gotten answers about what is going to be done to fix that. I think that everybody's working on hope and prayer for change because they don't want things to stay the way they are. Whether that means a change in leadership and administration or not is what we are going to find out. But certainly in Delaware, despite the fact that people aren't really happy with the way things are, for the most part, things stayed the way things are. You have a Democrat governor, Democrat lieutenant governor, Democrat senator, Democrat congressperson, Democrat insurance commissioner, you know, and most of the incumbents, both Democrat and Republican, won. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see if there's any pressure from people who were hoping for change to demand that that change
I think that you'll see it. I think that the pressure is still there, right? Regardless of which color they're falling in, as far as red or blue, I still think that Delawareans and Americans are pretty pissed off about the way things are going. And they're saying, okay, you're in here. I think that 2024 on several levels has been a year of accountability. Right? Whether you're an entertainer or a politician or whatever,
that's true. That's
things have been brought to light, and there's a level of accountability. I'm expecting that level of accountability to continue. I think that there won't be any excuse, unlike any other year, for these exceptions. The economy, you're absolutely right. It's affecting everybody, and the only color they're worried about is green. Right. And if you're in here and your first 100 days, I'm not hearing anything that's going to change the way my green looks. I think they're going to have trouble, right? And people are going to be very vocal about the problems that they're having. I think that Dover is going to have work to do for this session. I mean, they have work to do every session, but they're going to have to be creative on a few things. And I think the same thing in Washington. They're going to have to be creative on a few things. I think that LBR is going to be very excited on her first week down in Washington, D.C., but that agenda coming forward is going to be huge. We're fighting two kind of wars, right? So we're assisting in two wars, basically, that people kind of forgot about during this election cycle, especially over the past 2 weeks. But Gaza's still on fire. Ukraine's still on fire. They're getting assistance from North Korea and all these other things. These are some big issues that it really looks like our country is going to have to step in and kind of re-up not only what's going on there, but hopefully not begin to send troops or assistance into those areas. Those are going to be real discussions. We're hoping that the Fed does another drop in interest rates, right, during the next quarter. We're hoping for that. But at the same time, even though this first drop has occurred, we didn't get the results that we thought that they would get, right? It's hard for those wheels to get turning in the direction again. And people make it clear, and I know that your side does, oh no, we don't want any more stimulus, we don't want any more of this, we don't want any more of that. But inertia is a real thing, right? You have to get these wheels turning. And it's going to take some legislation in order for that to happen, right? We're still dealing with female reproductive rights, and those are a serious issue. These are all things that are going to happen. So, to your point, not sorry to get off on a rant, but regardless of who is in office, I believe the accountability is still there amongst the American people.
The demand for it.
The demand for it is still there. Jen, your thoughts? I'm sorry.
No, I mean, 120%, right? I think that whoever gets in office will be put on Front Street very soon as far as their agenda. And I will also say, you know, and I have noticed from all the candidates, from national candidates even down to our state candidates and, you know, local, it has been campaigns on, campaigns have really, this election cycle has really focused on issues, right? And the issues have laid bare, more so than I've seen in other campaigns,
it hasn't
right?
been very personal. There's
Right.
not been
It's not really
much of
very
that.
personal. It's really, what are you going to do, right? And being able to really bullet point it out. And those hard-hitting questions around that. And so that's why, you know, I keep on going back to this theme tonight of I'm very curious and obviously Jennifer personally has a where I would love for the American people to lean. But I'm very curious, this country in which I love so dear, this country in which, folks came here and were, able to get opportunities, some folks and other folks not, right? This country in which I believe we have a great democracy when it's executed the right way, right? And so I'm very curious, if my fellow Americans love this country and understand this country the same way I do, and hopefully their votes will say that in the end, because I think we have work to do, and I think that there's a lot to hang in the balance if we do not, if we don't speak the right way, and that's about all I will say about that.
Well, I noticed your blazer and pearls. That says a lot. Too.
I don't know. Listen, I like green and I like pearls. So what can I say?
Okay, just saying. Happenstance.
She's wearing her green on her sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That part.
Absolutely. So, I think now I would like to put this out to both of you. When we're talking about accountability, and this is true, the younger generation, this first generation of voters, and I want to call them Generation Y, is just that. Mm-hmm. They're not going for the old rhetoric from the past of, I'm candidate X and I'm here for you, and everybody claps and walks away. I think this younger generation is saying, tell me a little bit more. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more. Show me. Yeah. And they have receipts, right? They have the receipts to know. And I think a lot of candidates are very intimidated by them. Yeah. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't say that candidates are intimidated by them. I would certainly say.
I think they are.
Well, I don't know whether I'll use intimidated or whether I would say they are being challenged, right, by them, right? In the sense of this is not unlike what we have seen before, right? So there's a new kind of way of doing this. But then I also want to bring attention to the generation in which you're talking about, right? This is the generation 4 years ago, saw a man literally, being choked by a police officer on live TV, right? It being recorded. I mean, you're seeing this over and over again, right? A Breonna Taylor who is gunned down in her own home, right? And so you see these things. And then obviously what is currently going on the Gaza Strip, right? I mean, you're seeing this happen live, right?
They've seen January 6th.
They've seen January 6th. Let's put that out there, right? I mean, absolutely.
Lived through a
Pandemic. I mean, you're talking about school shootings, right? All of that. So this is a generation that's calling some responsibility out because, listen, we've seen it all. We have literally seen it all. And I think when you have, a generation like that, you have to be a candidate that is willing, right, to be extremely transparent and willing and know how to deliver on your agenda.
So right now we believe that we have Sarah McBride, and I think she is with Matt at the Chase Center. Am I right? Do we have that connection there? Are we ready to go?
National politics must not be and do not have to be our new normal. We know here in Delaware, that a different politics is possible. A politics of hope, not of hate. A politics of grace, not of grievance. A politics of progress, not of pettiness. This is our charge. This is our charge as Delawareans and as Americans, and mine as your next representative. As I assume this role, it is a responsibility that I feel deeply. And regardless of who you voted for or what county you live in, I am here to deliver for all Delawareans. Over the last year and a half, this campaign has knocked on a record number of doors. And we've talked about the issues that matter most to workers, retirees, and their families. You have welcomed me into your homes, your union halls, your houses of worship, and your own hopes and dreams for a better world. And after hundreds of thousands of ballots have been cast, you have entrusted me with the awe-inspiring and solemn responsibility of representing this state that I love in Congress. This opportunity to serve is only possible due to all those who have helped carry this campaign forward. In particular, I want to thank the elected officials, organizations, and unions who endorsed this campaign. We are union strong here in Delaware. I want to thank the thousands who gave their time and treasure to share our message. And I, of course, want to thank our dedicated campaign team, led by our incomparable campaign manager, Michaela Kurinsky-Malis. I also want to thank our federal delegation, Senator Carper, for your lifetime of service, our soon-to-be senior Senator Chris Coons, our future Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester, and of course, the fourth member of the Delaware congressional delegation, our favorite son, the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden. As I stand on this stage, my heart is full of gratitude as I see so many friends, both old and new. And as I'm joined by my amazing family, my parents, Dave and Sally, my siblings, Sean, Dan, Blake, and Jamie, and just some of my amazing nieces and nephews, Bennett, Theo, and Juliet. Their Aunt Sasa loves that they are here tonight. And finally, my heart is also full of love tonight for someone who is not here, my late husband, Andy, who first taught me the gift of grace and whose memory continues to motivate me in all that I do. My time with Andy reinforced for me a simple truth, that hope as an emotion, hope as a phenomenon only makes sense in the face of hardship. And while at this moment in America's journey, hope sometimes feels hard to come by, we must never forget that we are the beneficiaries of seemingly impossible change becoming a reality. That it's always been in our country's most significant challenges that we take our biggest steps forward. Because no matter what obstacles stand in our way, so long as we breathe, we hope. And together, we can once again turn that hope into historic progress. Thank you all very much. It's an honor to serve you.
And there we have it, Sarah McBride. Congratulations to her, representative in Congress. I think that's outstanding. Way to go, Sarah. She has been a guest on the agenda on several occasions, And thank you. She is family here for DETV, and we are excited to see that success. Great job. Before we get back to it, Jane, I didn't give you an opportunity to talk about these young voters and what they're bringing.
So I think they're much more practical. They've been through enough challenges that they're looking at the bottom line. They're looking for results, and they're not afraid to ask for them. They're not afraid to demand them. I think that they are going to tend to be a little more fiscally conservative than previous generations because they're looking at the consequences of not being fiscally accountable, like the huge student loan debt that's out there. There are people who didn't take loans to finish school. These individuals, I think this generation is going to go, I don't want to have all that debt. I'm going to go into a trade, or I'm going to take classes at night while I work. I think they're going to be much more practical and more fiscally conservative. Socially, I don't think they're going to be more conservative. You know, my nieces and nephews are pretty liberal,
and you can't talk them out of it?
Argue with us all the time. Well, you know, I'm hoping they grow out of it. I remember my freshman year in college coming home and talking about American imperialism in the silver mines in Peru. And my father looking at me like I was a foreign entity and saying, "Where did you hear that?" And I told him in school, and he almost pulled me out. But you know, I outgrew it. I come to my own choices about what I thought was important in life and what I thought were the right policies, and I'm pretty conservative now. But I do think that there's going to be a greater disparity between social policy and fiscal policy as we go forward with this generation.
The other thing is we have to remember that this generation that's voting now, they were youngsters when the 2008 housing crash happened.
Yep.
Right? So when we're talking about fiscal responsibility, they may have seen mom and dad lose the house. Yep. They may have seen mom and dad get laid off, lose a job, have to get retrained and all this other things, and they went without for a while or had to go with a lot less. Those type of things are tattooed in the memory of children, right? They're not going to forget that. And they also know that legislation, Washington, government had a lot to do with that, as well as the banks. And I think we see that in the way that money is handled in exchange now, right? Yes. And how finance is different than, say, when I was in school and when you were in school, and Jen, when you were in school. You know, things are a lot different. And I think that the experiences that this generation has had has caused that.
Well, I mean, if you look back at the excesses of the 80s and how the large corporations had their own large yachts and they entertained clients and went to the islands and all of that, and, you know, that is just, and flew people here and there and everywhere. Things have changed. And
their employees won't stand for that anymore.
That's right.
Their employees won't stand for that from a corporate standpoint.
So we've come a long way from the real bloated corporate environment, and I think everything is much more fiscally aware. Everyone is much more fiscally aware.
Yeah. So we have some national numbers up here. The Associated Press right now has Harris at 99 on the road to 270 and former President Trump at 178. You have had some conversations in regards to some folks on the ground behind the scenes from the Republican Party. You stepped out and made a quick phone call. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what you have.
So in North Carolina, the people on the ground who know the districts that have reported and what the other districts might be inclined to do thinks that Trump is going to win North Carolina. Georgia's still too close, but they're looking really good is what I'm hearing. They have really low turnout in Detroit and some other urban areas, and so they're thinking that may work to their benefit. There's a couple of issues in Milwaukee they're looking at right now, some things that are going on there. He didn't specify, but so we're waiting to see, but there are things happening that it's slowly going to be gelling up and seeing how things are going to go.
Adding to the show, again, we have another guest. Mr. Horace Knight is a PR representative here in Delaware, and it really has his ear to the ground in regards to what's going on. I'm going to put you on the hot seat, Horace. This information coming in right now, what are your thoughts?
Nationally or locally?
Nationally.
Nationally, I think that we're in for a long week. I don't think anything's going to happen tonight. I think that my first time being able to vote was 2000. I was 19, and I remember coming home from college to vote, and then staying up late thinking they're going to call it, and then there was the issue with Florida, and so it went on until it went to the whole weekend. I think that we're going to be the same way. I think that even if it is really close, there's going to be lawsuits, and there's going to be those sort of things happening. So I'm excited about what happened locally. I think nationally we all can get some rest because we're not going to hear anything tonight. Is what I think personally.
Right. It just right now it's not close.
It's
right?
not.
It's not close. Depending on how Georgia goes, and it'll be pretty clear. At this point, there's a long road. I'm not saying it's impossible. Absolutely not. I think there's still
there's plenty of
time.
You've got New York and California
that are still out there,
and they're going to go to Kamala Harris.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. I will say that there's a really interesting issue in Maricopa County in Arizona. They have a 2-page, both sides, I think 72 different things that voters have to check off. And it's twice as long as they've ever had any other ballots. And it's taking people as much as an hour to complete the ballot. So they're suggesting that it may take 10 to 14 days to get the results. Now, they could maybe screen them just for the main votes and then worry about the ballot initiatives and the lower level races later. But right now, they're saying it's going to take a particularly long time to count. And Maricopa County is going to be a critical component.
Absolutely. So
Arizona.
this is not happenstance. Right?
Yeah. I mean, the same thing, there's some things, I don't know if you all have heard the bomb threats in Georgia, right, to certain sites. And so they actually kept some polling sites open longer in Georgia. But I mean, imagine if you're a voter and, if you're in Fulton County in Georgia and all of a sudden, there's a bomb threat, are you still going out to vote?
Right.
I don't know, right? And so, I agree with you, Horace. This is going to be a long road.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think we can all say nothing will be decided today.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I think we're comfortable. And Jane's like, it's going down. It's going down. But I don't think anything is going to be decided today. Huh?
I am not gloating.
You're not gloating, but there is an aura that's around
I'll
you.
tell you, we all went down in Delaware. So.
Yeah.
It's not good news in Delaware.
Horace, I don't know if you know the results, but Matt Meyer will be the next governor for the state of Delaware.
Yeah.
And Kyle Evans-Gay will be his lieutenant governor.
Yes. I'm excited for the statement that Delaware is making. Matt Meyer was not the Democratic Party's nominee, but he won the primary and general by a landslide. So I'm excited for the people that voted for Matt Meyer. I'm excited for what he's going to bring to the table that may be different. I was in the background listening, saying people are ready for change. They're ready, they want accountability. I think that Mr. Meyer is going to bring that to the table. He is not going to bring the same agenda, the same track over the last, several years. Not to say, but, so I'm happy for what he's going to do. I'm also excited for the young people that have won. Wilmington City Council.
Oh, Wilmington City Council. Kobe Owens.
Kobe Owens,
Yep.
right?
Owens.
Won this primary by less than 10 votes, right? And so he's, first district. I'm excited for Alexander Hackett, another young guy. I'm excited
new
for
faces, new ideas.
Which is important. It's important that that we are mentoring the young people, so they can take what they're learning from the seniors or the veterans and just change, and also to further engage more young people.
Right.
We know that enough people are not voting. Right. So how do we keep engaging new generations? How do we engage the 18
but how to
to 22
get those young
crowd?
folks? I love the fact that they're running for office.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
They're not sitting back. I mean, it's great that they're voting, but we also want people who are going to run for office to take that initiative and some I know Kobe, I know Alec. They're not millionaires.
Not at all.
They're not those guys.
Boots
you know
on the ground.
Boots on the ground, getting things done, knocking on doors.
Absolutely.
And
doing the right work.
And I'm sorry if these brothers are millionaires, and I'm just assuming. But just assuming, gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't know what they do,
Fair
and
enough.
you know what I mean. Everybody's gets scratch-off tickets, but I think that it shows young folks. Regardless of party, right? Hey, I can run for office.
Absolutely.
Well, we had a number of young people running as challengers in the Republican Party this time. They didn't win, but they ran. And a couple of them ran a few years ago when I was still chair of the Republican Party, and I asked them, look, even if you don't win, view this, you're spending a lot of time, you're spending a lot of money, you're learning so much.
Learning experience.
Consider it as an investment in your party's future as well as your own, and run again. And some of them did, and unfortunately they still didn't make it. But they have great ideas, they're very engaged, they're people who care about their community, they're veterans and grandmoms and well, the younger ones aren't grandmothers, but I was thinking of Joan Godwin on her motorcycle. She's a grandmom on a motorcycle. But, you know, they're people who are really care, young, working, contributing to their community, baseball and basketball coaches, you know. And I just hope that they don't give up either. It's a tough environment for people who are in a minority party in a state that's dominated by the other side. Especially when, and I'll be honest here, I don't think their ideas are listened to because they don't have to be. When you have a majority in both houses in the legislature, you don't have to listen to the other side at all. And they don't, for the most part. There are occasional differences when they will. But I think that one of the good things that could come from different leadership is that people listen to each other, including the people that don't necessarily agree with you, and find common ground that helps bring the half of the state, a little less than half, unfortunately, but the little less than half of the state that shares their views and give them a voice in their government. Because right now, I think consistently for 15 or 20 or 30 years now, consistently, that little bit less than half a state has not felt it had a voice.
Yeah, and hopefully that'll change, but I think that makes such a strong statement when they run, even when they don't win, right? And that's unfortunate for them, because I know people put their heart and souls into campaigns, especially at the state and local level. It's very grassroots. It's about an issue that I see and I feel and I want to change, and they, you know, they're not thinking of it the same way on a national level. But it makes a statement in your community. It makes a very strong statement in your community. It says, I stand up for X, Y, and Z. And I'm not going away. Right. You know what I mean? You're still hearing my voice very clearly dealing with some of those issues. And I want to encourage anyone tonight who is disappointed with whomever won the ballot, you know what I mean? That doesn't stifle your voice.
No, it doesn't.
And it sure as heck doesn't stop the issue. Right? It's still there. We have Governor-elect Matt Meyer. Right now, we're going to go to him in just a second. A little bit of technical difficulty, no problem. Here he is.
Wow. Woo. Good evening, Delaware Democrats. Good evening, Delaware Democrats. Wakenya wako hapa. Hamjambo. Tumefaulu. Wow. What an incredible night to be from Delaware. What an incredible night. What a historic night for Delaware. Come on, we got Lisa, y'all. We got Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester. We made history, Congresswoman Sarah McBride. And we got a little county executive who used to teach down the street who's going to be your next governor. So, sorry, I'm changing jobs, buddy. He likes county executive. So, ours is a campaign that, under the old Delaware way, was given very little chance of success from the beginning. But we, with an extraordinary team from across the state, some of whom are here tonight, with tremendous staff at the county working their tails off to deliver for Delawareans, we came together, we engaged our state in a discussion about our potential, about the opportunities and the innovations that are possible if we think big. We took on the lack of transparency, the misuse of taxpayer and campaign dollars. We told it like it is, and we talked about how we reduced the tax bill for county property taxes, how we established a more innovative and responsive county government. And we took on problems that to others just seemed too difficult to solve. We created something called the Hope Center. We created something called the Hope Center to address the growing and endemic problem of housing insecurity, mental illness, and substance use. We established a kids coding program to prepare over 1,000 Delaware children for the jobs of the future. And we turned nearly 1,000 old dilapidated houses across our county into renovated, affordable homes. And we did that while running an efficient government, cutting property taxes for county residents for the first time in over 5 decades. In the course of doing it, we realized that that could just be the beginning. As your governor, we can and will do so much more. We can all agree that for far too long there was a Delaware way that served insiders and ignored the talents and potential of so many who've been left behind. Like the students I taught about 20 blocks from here, just a short bike ride away, teaching 6th and 7th grade math at Prestige Academy, a public school. Prestige in the house. Thank you, Dana. A public school on the east side of Wilmington. I work side by side with extraordinary educators, some of which are here tonight. And I was passionate about my work. I loved it every day I had to stand and deliver. But my students, their families, too many were left behind. There should be a new way in Delaware, and that new way starts tonight. I got it. Our government's going to work like crazy to build a better, brighter future for all in every corner of this state. We're going to start by rebuilding our schools so that all children, every child in this state, has a fair shot to succeed. Let's be honest, there are a lot of well-heeled people and insiders who can take care of themselves and typically do. The people we need to be concerned about are the rest of us, Delawareans across this state in all 3 counties, in the cities, the suburbs, and the rural areas, struggling to afford a home, struggling to send their children to good schools, get training for great jobs, access quality, affordable health care, and enjoy a clean and thriving environment. That's going to be our focus when we lead our state. Listen, let's be honest, we're only up here tonight because we have a track record of getting things done. When you hear all these speeches, you hear a lot of promises. But tonight cannot just be about promises. It's got to be about plans, and plans that we turn into progress. Progress for everyone. Now, let me be honest, I've had an incredible support system, incredible supports that have walked me through every step of this journey. My parents are here, Mom and Dad. Where's Mom and Dad? I hope they're still here. Mom, Dad. Jeremy and Allison, my brother and sister. We had some hard years, but they've been supportive of late. And I need to mention my late nephew, Noah, of blessed memory, who was a critical part of my personal journey. I'm also up here tonight with my incredible wife, Lauren. Give Lauren a round of applause. Working emergency room shifts with 3 children is a serious juggling act. Adding a husband with a little job application that took a couple years, and I honestly have been so lucky to have the best partner anyone could ask for. Thank you, Lauren. And come on, I want to hear it. How amazing is it? We're going to have an emergency room doctor who's the First Lady of the state of Delaware. Her job is a reminder to me every day of the life and death decisions that we as elected officials make. The policies we prioritize, often we don't see the faces, but she does. The faces of those who make it and sometimes those who do not. No, I got him, I think. All right. I think that means I'm talking too much. So Wyatt and Owen here have been my strategic advisors behind the scenes. And I just want to say publicly, no, the Meyer administration will not outlaw homework. And I want you to give it up to the campaign MVP, our most valuable player, Levi. If you're wondering how we do this, Levi does sleep 11 hours each night. But probably not tonight. So I want to also thank specifically the people who stood by me tonight when getting to this point seemed impossible. People who were here and some who are not here, who were willing to challenge the established order of things, take a little heat. They're willing to believe the best we have is in no way a limit to the best that we can do. Delawareans who believe with their entire hearts that it's not about the position you hold, but the progress that we can make. I want to thank Nick. Where's Nick? Nick Merlino. And the whole campaign team, extraordinary team. And I also want to thank everyone who came together over the last few months. I know it was a difficult primary, but people came together. There's an understanding in this state right now of what is at stake. And people came together and fought hard, so thank you for that. I also wanted to take a minute to quickly thank Bobby Williamson, Jerry Price, Colin O'Mara, Bethany Hall Long, and Mike Ramone. Give them all a round of applause. They all stood for governor this year, and as anyone who's run before or been a family member of someone who's run, they know it takes courage to run. And each of those individuals took considerable personal sacrifice to try to make Delaware a better place. And I look forward to each of their collaboration to realize the Delaware that works for every working family. Because all of us here share an abiding belief that our state's most inspiring chapters are still yet to be written. On this historic night, we've shattered glass ceilings. Some we thought would never break. From U.S. Senate to Congress, and hopefully, God willing, the President of the United States. I think all of us in this room share an abiding belief that there's a new way for Delaware. There's a new way in Dover, and I want you to know it's going to start with my administration working in collaboration with my Lieutenant Governor, Kyle Evans-Gay. Let me close with this. Let me close with this while Levi's still awake. There's a parable that was told to me years ago that I often thought about when we worked in the Hope Center. There's an old man who had once lost hope. He spent his day looking for fights to pick and arguments to have. He had lost sight of what was best in life and spent his time focused fully on what was worst. His days were spent focused dwelling on grievances, not goodness. One day, he came across a person of faith, and he challenged them. Do you see that homeless person there on the corner? If there was a reason to have faith, shouldn't God have done something to help that person? The person of faith lit up. But he did do something, she said. He created you, and he gave you the chance to help. What are you going to do with it? Thank you for having faith in our future and for believing that together we can build a Delaware that works for all of us. We are only here tonight because you gave me that chance, and I want you to know you have a governor, you have a teacher governor who's going to be standing and delivering. Let's get to work.
By Christians, so that's something we could talk about.
So, there it is. We are back. Thank you so much for
Kyle Evans Gay, our Lieutenant Governor.
sticking with us with our
Good evening, Delaware Democrats. I know I look taller in person. Guess what, guys? They just called our race. And it's because of all of you. I want to introduce Alice, Olin, and Ellen Gay. Can you give them a round of applause for me? We are here tonight because of the work that we all did up and down the ballot, up and down this state. You know me, I ran for office because I was disappointed at what was going on at the national level, and let's hope we get the job done tonight. But that's right, call your friends in other states. But I also knew that what was happening in Dover didn't reflect the needs of my family and yours, my parents and your parents, and kids like my kids and your kids. And we are going to change that priority list as soon as we get in this next administration. And I've been up and down this state. I've been talking about what's possible, Delaware, and I will tell you it's not just because of what I believe. It's because of what I have seen and what each of you have seen, because I have seen automatic voter registration get signed into law and increasing the number of voters in this state. I don't just believe, I have seen it. I have seen insurance coverage for abortion get passed in this state. And I have seen, I don't just believe, but I have seen historic investments for education that will not stop, because I can't wait, these kids can't wait, all of our kids can't wait. We have to do better for them. Guys, my mom's up here. I want to thank everyone who knocked a door. I want to thank everyone who called a friend, everyone who called a stranger to talk to them about what was at stake in this election. I want to thank my team. You see them here tonight. You've seen them by my side. This is a job that takes an army, because we have to do the work to make sure people understand what is at stake, not just at this election, but every election. I want to thank you. You guys, I'm like Tim Walz. I'm learning my clap lines. I want to especially thank my family. My mom and dad are here tonight. I am the daughter of a law enforcement officer and a banker. who saw what was possible for our family and raised me to do what I could for my community every single day. Thank you. And I want to thank my husband, Olin, for never saying no, for always just asking how, and we did it. And I especially want to thank Ellen and Alice. And you've heard me say it before, they both inspire me and require me to do my best every day. When you are asking yourselves what's best for Delaware, remember what's best for them is what's best for us. And the better we do at investing in our kids, the better we're going to change our trajectory across the board for Delawareans. We likely have a long road ahead, but tonight, let us celebrate that we kept Delaware blue, and we did it because we did the work and because we're going to do even better work tomorrow. Let's go get them.
And there we have it from our newest Lieutenant Governor, Kyle Evans-Gay. Great. And Matt Meyer, both of them on the stage this evening, accepting their win very graciously and really putting out a theme of change, I heard, that, you know, it will not be the same for Delawareans. Education was definitely at the forefront of the conversations. What are your thoughts? I'm very curious to know on both sides. And I'll start over here, Jane, from hearing that. What are your thoughts of the new governor and his lieutenant governor and the change that they're talking about bringing?
Well, I would very much enjoy trying to work with Matt Meyer on the issue of education, as you know, big issue for me. Mm-hmm. I think that the new governor needs to be very much aware of what has happened recently in the business community in Delaware. And I don't think, you know, I kind of thought that John Carney would have appreciated this, and he clearly did not. But House Bill 350 that put a government panel in charge of nonprofit and hospital budgets, and with approval and veto authority, is just the wrong way to go if you want to invite business into your state. 25% of our revenue for the state is from business filings and franchise taxes. And if we want to continue to have the ability to fund education the way Matt wants to fund education, he needs to protect Delaware's role in the business world globally. And I think that it was short-sighted on Governor Carney's part to promote that bill, because I think it misaligns where the actual costs are. So I hope that Matt will take a bigger perspective on what we can do. I think that we need to develop manufacturing in Delaware. Mm-hmm. We need to loosen up DENREC's tight hold on the locations along the coastal zone that are allowed to be utilized for industrial use, and get us making our own medications here in this country. And why not Delaware? We sit in a great place geographically to ship. And so I think that whoever is the new governor, Matt, is going to have to, I think, take a bigger perspective on and an initiative to generate good paying, income producing, and business building jobs in Delaware.
Yeah, and I want to say my opinion on House Bill 350, and maybe it could have been done better. Maybe we could have had a different way of oversight, but oversight was necessary with healthcare in Delaware. Okay, we're not going high in there.
Cutting costs is necessary.
Cutting costs,
and
right?
That, I think the answer to that is competition, not government oversight. At the very same meeting that they approved the money for the $700,000 budget to create the 5-person panel, They expanded health care coverage on other health services for state employees and retirees and eliminated copays. So at the very time they're complaining about costs, they're expanding what the state is covering. You can't have it both ways. You can't say health costs are too high and then expand what you're covering with government money and complain about the government's cost for health care. And so I think there needs to be a real scrutiny of what they're funding. They didn't increase payments of premiums by state employees for a long, long time, and then people complained when it was a huge jump. Everybody knows costs go up. Other private industries pass that cost in the premiums on to their employees in a percentage each year.
Yeah.
Or every other year.
And
the
I know
state didn't do that. They didn't act responsibly. And so they end up with a crisis because they didn't manage the issue the way it should have been managed. I hope Matt brings a different perspective.
It may be, but when it comes to patient representation, I think that we needed to do something because, in my opinion, Christiana Care, when you don't have competition, you have that omnipotence in the industry and you do whatever you want to do. And the fact that people can hop on 95 and be in Philadelphia in 45 minutes, I know that's where I receive my health care now, right? I can no longer depend on Christiana Care. Or I'm in 45 minutes or 60 minutes, I'm in Baltimore taking advantage of those systems and what have you. The fact that we have to do that, could you imagine if those weren't there? It's an issue. Hopefully they can come up with something, and if Matt can bring that to bear, that would be great. Ms. Tompkins, you now know who your governor is, who you have to work with.
Yes.
I'm anxious to hear your thoughts on all this, but hold on for just one second. Okay. We have Senator Carper here to speak a little bit. I believe we're going to.
Veteran serving in the United States Senate, retired Navy captain, 20-some years in the Navy. Shh. I'm not going to go for it until you stop talking. Stop talking. I'm serious. Stop talking. Many times in my life, I've raised my right hand to give an oath to serve this country. I'm going to ask you to join me in repeating that oath tonight. I'm going to ask you to reach out to the person on your right and a person on your left. I'm going to say these words, and then I want you to repeat them after me. Are you ready? Yes. All right, let's hear it. Here we go. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States of America forever and ever and ever and ever. All right. Thank you. Good job. Joe Biden is not here tonight. Some of you heard him speak. Shh. Some of you heard Joe Biden speak at the Democratic National Convention. He gave the best speech, I think, that anybody gave. And he said, go ahead. He gave the best speech of all. And one of the things he said, I love my job, but I love my country more. Let's give him a great round of applause. Delaware's Joe Biden. I have the privilege of introducing one of my favorite people in the world, Martha Carper. Come on, give her a round of applause. Martha Carper. Whenever I meet people who are in the military and I meet their spouse, I say they both serve. The one wearing the uniform and the spouse as well. All those years I've served in the Navy, as your treasurer, your congressman, your governor, this woman is by my side. She is a saint. Martha Ann Stacy Carpenter, she's managed to have a career of her own. DuPont, University of Delaware, raised 2 boys. Give her another round of applause. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman. Before I introduce Lisa, in 30 seconds, you ready? 30 seconds, I'm going to talk about leadership. Leadership is the key to success in any organization I've ever been part of. I don't care if it's a baseball team, I don't care if it's a football team, a school, I don't care if it's a business, a state, a county, a city. Leadership is always the key. What do you think? Always the key. Always the key. Listen to these words. Listen to these words about Lisa Blunt Rochester. You ready? Here we go. Leaders are humble, not haughty. They have the heart of a servant. They understand that their job is to serve, not be served. Leaders have the courage to stay out of step when everyone else is marching to the wrong tune. Leaders unite, not divide. They build bridges, not walls. Leaders surround themselves with the very best people they can find. When their team does well, the leader gives credit to the team. And when the team falls short, the leader takes the blame. Leaders don't build themselves up by tearing other people down. Leaders are aspirational. They appeal to people's better angels. A fellow named Frenchman, a guy named Camus, some of you probably know him. Not really. Camus once said that leaders are purveyors of hope. Let me hear you say purveyors of hope. Purveyors of hope. Leaders always seek to do what is right, not what is easy or expedient. They focus on excellence in everything they do. If it's not perfect, they say, let's make it better. Leaders treat other people the way that they want to be treated. And finally, when the leaders know they're right, they're sure they're right, they never give up. Lisa Blunt Rochester is all of those things. She has been a leader in state government here. She's been a leader in the House of Representatives. She is our friend. She is your friend. She has been one heck of a United States Senator, one that we can just be proud of forever and forever. Lisa Blunt Rochester. Lisa.
First of all, we must start off by paying homage, respect, and love to our senior senator, who was our governor, who was a congressman, who was a treasurer, who was the last serving Vietnam veteran in the United States Senate, Tom Carper. Thank you, TC. And thank you to all of you. To the Delaware Democrats, I want to start off by saying thank you to all of the party leaders. Betsy Marin, thank you so much for your support. Some of you may have seen me today on the campaign trail. I saw her with a t-shirt that said love and vote at the same time. I said, I like your shirt, Betsy. She said, I'll get you one. And I wore it today because that's what this is all about. I want to also thank each and every one of you who stuffed letters, who made calls, sent texts, everything that you did to make tonight such a success for Delaware Democrats, and especially for our new governor coming in, Matt Meyer, and our lieutenant governor, Kyle Evans-Gay. I am so excited for the work that we will do together. And also, I want to thank Senator Chris Coons, I am looking forward to our next senior senator, Chris Coons, as well as us serving with our Congresswoman-elect Sarah McBride. I actually think there's going to be a name for us when we get to Washington. It's going to be the Delaware Dynamic Delegation. You heard it here. The Delaware Dynamic Delegation. Because we're going to do some bold things. We're going to do some new things. And with all of you at the table, we're going to do that. So tonight, I just came to bring the love, to say thank you for the support, to say this whole campaign for us was about bright hope and bringing bright hope to the Senate, especially when times feel dark. So you might be looking at these numbers right now, but I want you to remember, this is about bright hope, and bright hope shines best in the dark. So at this point, we're going to get ready to bring everybody up on the stage, but before I do, I also want to take a moment to acknowledge someone who isn't with me. My family is here, but my dad, Ted Blunt, he taught me everything I know about public service. He taught me your word is your bond. He taught me to care about people. And so I want to say that this election is for my dad, Ted Blunt. And this election is for you, all of you who helped us. Whether you were a teacher, a firefighter, a veteran, whether you were a kid, whether you were a sage senior, like some of us, whether you were a nurse.
Hey everyone, thanks for continuing to listen. We've heard a little bit about what LBR had to say. I want to throw you now to Ivan Thomas and County Executive-elect Marcus Henry. He has a brief conversation with him. We know that you all would love to hear.
Congratulations, Marcus.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much.
Made history, first black county executive in the state of Delaware.
Yes.
What can people expect for you going forward?
Hard work and vision. I'm just so excited for this opportunity. I've worked over 2.5 years for this office. I'm so grateful that I'm successful. My first try running for office. I just can't wait to get started. I know. I'm loving it. I can't wait.
Yeah. How does it feel, man, you defeating all odds and being in office?
It feels so gratifying, and I got to say this, like, family's everything. And family supported me from the jump, my friends also, and we just kind of grew our network as this campaign progressed. And when we ended up the last few months, so much support from so many people in the Newcastle County community, I'm overwhelmed. And we had diverse support, all the way from Hocassin down to Delaware City, black, white, all of that. And I just appreciate everyone for that. Really appreciate it.
What words do you have for your constituents? What message do you have for them from Marcus?
That I'm going to make sure you appreciate that Newcastle County is a wonderful place to live and grow, have a business, raise your family. I want to make you proud, all of you.
Thank you, and that was Marcus Henry. We're excited for him as well. Another guest on the agenda who has always been there for us here at DETV. Thank you, Marcus, and congratulations to you. For the candidates that have won this evening, not only congratulations, but you have a road ahead of you, and we, especially folks here at this table, are watching, right? And we're expecting. Yeah. So a victory is a victory, and please enjoy it for this evening. But first thing, 6 January, right? I think that's or 7 January. It's time to go to work. It's definitely time to go to work. I want to thank my esteemed guest, The Honorable Jane Brady, you were always there when we call on you in the last minute or even weeks ahead. Thank you so much for your input and your mentorship here. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Jen Tompkins, I think you have a locker here anyway. So thank you so much for coming on the show and giving your insight. And Horace, first time, hopefully it's not the last time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you, and we appreciate everyone that has taken the time to allow DETV to be their information source. But as we close out this DETV News Special Report, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've witnessed tonight. Democracy is not just about casting ballots, it's about engaging and making choices and holding those choices accountable. Delaware and America has spoken, and each vote counted tonight echoes the voices of citizens who believe in the power of participation and change. Tonight's results, both here and at home and across the nation, carry weight. More than 246,000 Delawareans have cast their ballots before Election Day, demonstrating the depth of commitment from people who want to see their government work for them. They want to see their communities grow, their country move forward. It's no small thing that so many choose to make their voices heard early. It's awesome, early. This is a reminder that democracy lives and thrives when we, the people, take an active role in shaping the future. First, remember, elections are not the end of the story. They are only the beginning. What comes next for those elected tonight? There is a road, a long, difficult road for them to fulfill and trust and uphold for all of us. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay engaged with democracy. Right? Don't forget it. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight in this conversation, and I look forward to seeing you all right here on the agenda and on DE.